Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mets Talk Live, presented by Nissan. Doug Williams alongside John Harper, Nelson Figueroa, and former Mets pitching coach Rick Peterson joins us once again. We're going to talk a lot of pitching today, including some issues in the bullpen and what Steven Matz could do to try and stay healthy. But first, leading off, the big winner from Steven Matz not being able to stay healthy. Zack Wheeler has not only made the team, but he's in the Mets rotation. He'll start the fourth game of the season for the Mets. And as you can imagine, after such a long road for Wheeler, he's pretty pleased about it.
It's been a long road. I know it's starting probably because Steve got hurt, but it's unfortunate. And I wish him, a fast recovery, but I'm here and I'm healthy and I want to pitch, and that's what I'm about to be able to do.
Obviously, we're going to have to show something, but did you think coming into camp that this was a realistic possibility?
Yeah, of course. I didn't come in here thinking that I wasn't going to make the team. I came in here thinking, hey, I'm going to pitch and try to do the best I can to, crack the starting five rotation, and I was able to do that.
So here's how it sets up. Gesellman is the five starter, but will be available out of the pen in the first few games because of some off days. It'll go Syndergaard, DeGrom, Harvey, and Wheeler, then back to no a whole lot of right-handers. And the news regarding Steven Matz is weirdly bad, considering there's no structural damage. He received a PRP injection, won't even attempt to throw again for 3 weeks' time. More on that in just a second. So if we look at this rotation as a whole coming out of spring training, Rick, what are your thoughts on it?
I think it's pretty impressive, without question. By far, probably the best rotation in all of baseball. And I think one of the biggest things is going to be a major challenge is how you're going to manage these 120 innings for Zack Wheeler, starting the season. And there's a lot of different things, and we can talk about it later. But the fact that he earned this spot, I think it's incredible. I mean, his upside is off the charts. I think when that trade was made, they're looking at a number one, number two starter. So the fact that he's ready and he's healthy and he's ready to do this, and you could tell just by that interview, mentally, he's in Disneyland right now.
And how did he go, Nelson, from long shot to a legitimate option, not just a five guy, number four guy in the rotation? Going into the spring, he was such a question mark. Now he seems like he's a sure thing.
Well, like Rick said, a number four guy with tremendous upside, right? So you look in this rotation, he's a number four. Anywhere else in baseball, this guy's sitting at your number one, number two spot. What he did was go out there and just pitch and got better and stronger as the spring training went on. Left no doubt that he was ready. It's been 2 years. Really, for him, it's a sigh of relief. Listen, I'm ready to go. I feel healthy. There's been no setbacks, not at any point other than the first week of spring training where you kind of ramp it up a little bit and you just want to make sure everything's okay. After that moment, this guy has done nothing but increase his workload, increase his ability to throw strikes with all his pitches, and continue to impress. 97 on the radar gun, free and easy. When you talk about free and easy, this guy is free and easy with his mechanics, and he's done a tremendous job of just competing. He had that competition phase. He wanted to put it in front of the Mets and say, hey, listen, I want to compete for this spot. I don't want to sit back in spring training yet again for another season. So he's did everything off. Hats off to him.
And let's talk about the innings Rick mentioned. Harp, you advocated for the other side. You wanted to delay Zack Wheeler. You thought, well, if you're going to want him, you're going to want him late when the games really count. What are your thoughts on the fact that it looks like as if the Mets are going to go with the opposite?
Yeah, I can understand what they're saying, talking to people down there. They feel like, look, he's pitching well now. Let's take advantage of it. You never know what the future is going to bring, especially this guy who's sat out 2 years. But at the same time, if you think that, and I think he's, as you said, Rick, still, and this is a guy that has number one potential. I want him with the big games, and if they're going to stick to this innings, 125 innings or whatever it is, you're going to run out of innings. Are you going to shut him down in a pennant race in August?
No.
How would you navigate?
No. This is very, very manageable. Number one, let's say 120 innings. Let's say average 6 innings per start as a rough number. That's 20 starts. If you have a healthy five-man rotation, that's 32, 33 starts. Someone's picking up 12 or 13 of these starts. So you got Lugo in there. So what you can do, and we've done this with Pedro. Pedro did this over his career at certain times, where you can skip him 2 starts. And for me personally, he would never pitch on 4 days rest. Almost never, if you could avoid it. And you can avoid it. The fact that you have Lugo is an incredible luxury. So I would say a minimum of 3 times he would miss 1 start. Probably a minimum of like 3 times he would miss 2 starts. You come into the All-Star break, and he's missing a start, you're talking about another two weeks, and this is incredibly manageable. And
But can you stay sharp if you're giving him that much time off here and there?
Yep, of course. I mean, it's very manageable because you would still have your bullpens.
And let's say you're one of the starters in the Mets rotation, Syndergaard, DeGrom, presumably Harvey, who thinks they don't need an extra guy in the rotation. If we're looking at a quasi six-man rotation to give a guy like Wheeler rest, how does that weigh on the guys mentally who feel like they want to pitch every fifth day instead of having to wait that extra day?
Well, they still will. What will happen was somebody will jump in Wheeler's place. Right. That's what we're talking about.
Okay, so
Lugo replace Wheeler.
But they are talking six-man at a time. I know
that has been mentioned.
Right. Yeah. There's so many balls being juggled right now. There's so many ideas because what you don't want is to have to shut this guy down. Say he comes out like a gangbuster, and by the end of July, you're looking at a guy who's 12-2 with a low 2 ERA, and you got to shut him down for no reason, or for a good reason, I should say. I really feel that this is something like he said. They're going to manage it a little differently. They learned from what happened with Harvey, where they ramped him up early on, and then all of a sudden they were worrying about August and the pennant race and everything of that nature. So they have enough assets at hand that they can prolong this. They can stretch it out to a full length of a season so that there is a pennant race. You do have Wheeler.
My only question there would be, though, you're going to have to manage innings for some of these other guys, too. Gazelman, even Matz if he's pitching. So it's not like he's the only guy you have to worry about in terms of managing innings, right?
But it's all manageable because DeGrom's fine, Noah's fine, Harvey's fine right now, and those guys, provided the fact they're healthy, they're getting their 32, 33 starts without question.
Yeah.
These other guys are filling in to make sure that they get the extra day's rest. And even with 32, 33 starts, you can still have many starts with 5 days rest, which keeps everybody really fresh.
But I don't think they're letting Harvey get to 200 after the surgery last year, right? So
well, the good news of all of this, I keep thinking, is how many good options they have. I mean, conceivably, if Matz is back after a month, the names go on and on. Lugo, Gazelman, it's an embarrassment of riches. If you've ever been in a position with guys you want to rest, I'm not sure you can be in a better position than
this is the big difference of this team in this year. We had 9 starters, but we had 9 starters because guys got hurt. Right. This is 9 starters or 8 starters planned from the very beginning. Right. We're going to need to use all of these guys. They wound up using, on every team I've ever been on, we've used 8, 9 starters.
Exactly.
But you don't count on doing that. You would love to use the big 5 that you have. That's a luxury if you can get it. No longer is baseball that way. There's no longer guys who are everyday players playing 162 games as well. So that rotation of ball player, that rotation of pitcher now, it's changing now because they're trying to put more value on the longevity of a guy's career rather than 2 good years of, wow, this guy was awesome, and then all of a sudden he was nothing because he blew out.
Right.